How's it going, amazing Techsplore followers? Welcome back to another incredible video. Before we get started, I want to know, what do you think is the worst crime to commit? Leave your answers in the comments below. There are many criminals who commit horrible and cruel acts. When it's time to face their judgments, many of these criminals have intense reactions to their sentences. Here are 10 convicts who freaked out after receiving a life sentence. A mother and her daughter's desperate plea. An 18-year-old girl was sentenced to 20 years in prison after using a dating app to set up a robbery that resulted in another teenager being shot. When the judge handed down the sentence, the girl's mother dropped to the floor, crying in extreme pain. The teenager was screaming for her mother and begging the judge for a lighter sentence. Brandon Spencer is serving a life sentence for opening fire at a Halloween party at the University of Southern California. He was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder, and this was his reaction to the charges. Two women collapsed in court after receiving life sentences for the death of a 3-year-old girl. Right after the judge read their sentences, they fell to the floor with emotional outbursts and had to be taken out of the courtroom.
Corrections for a period of life. You will get credit for any of the time that you've served.
And they had to be wheeled.
Jaleel Hoskins pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and tampering with evidence after violently killing a mother of 5 and dumping her body in a trash dumpster. When the judge ordered him to serve life without the possibility of parole, he threw the podium towards the judge and had to be dragged out of the courtroom by deputies.
I love you, baby. I love you, Mom.
A 19-year-old was sentenced to life in prison after shooting and killing another man in an attempted robbery. The convicted killer still hoped for a chance at parole, but when the judge said parole was out of the question, it sparked an aggressive outburst. While Juan Rodriguez was being convicted of murder for stabbing a nurse at a mental health facility. Instead of making any last-minute pleas, he threatened to kill the judge if she didn't let him out of jail.
Listen to me. You don't let me out of here, I'm gonna kill you. I'm a Jew. I'm gonna take your life if you don't.
A 19-year-old man went into an aggressive rage after a jury sentenced him to death for a murder. He began knocking down chairs before being tackled by dozens of courtroom officers who eventually dragged him out of the courtroom. Andrew Worth was charged with first-degree murder after shooting and killing a police officer. His bail was set at $1 million, and after the judge sentenced him, this was his reaction. Officers had to use a stun gun to calm him down before carrying him out of the courtroom. After being found guilty of arson and almost facing a life sentence, Michael Marin placed his hands over his mouth and swallowed something. A few minutes later, he began gagging and died in the courtroom. A toxicology report discovered that he had poisoned himself with cyanide after hearing the verdict of his sentencing.
Swallow something after the verdict is read. Notice as he reaches down and appears to get something from his bag. He then wipes his face, swallows something, and appears to swallow again. But 8 minutes later, Marin starts convulsing and collapses.
A judge sentenced Marcial Anguiano to 40 years in prison for aggravated assault after he cut his niece with a butcher knife. After hearing the sentence, he used a thin blade from a safety razor and slit his own throat in an apparent suicide attempt. He survived, but he will probably receive more time for sneaking contraband into the courtroom. And that's it, folks. These were 10 convicts who freaked out after receiving a life sentence. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you next time.